Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Multifamily Chronicles, and I'm your host, Adrian Danila. Today, we have as a guest, Timothy Rodman. Timothy is Growth Manager for Rent Dynamics. Welcome to the show, Timothy.
Thanks so much, Adrian. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Timothy, I want to start by asking you a little bit about your professional and your personal background. And also, I'd like to hear from you, how did you end up working for a company that provides services in the multifamily space? And then how did you land a job in multifamily from social media?
That's a fun one.
It's a question that's like more like 3 or 4 questions in one.
Yeah, and I think we can start from a little bit of my background. So just naturally growing up, it comes to a funny story that, I got my start in graphic design. So I actually went to school. I went to a 2-year technical school and got the nitty gritty of art history, graphic design, color theory, and just understanding how digital elements can impact human behavior just always baffled me. But what's so unique is that from that experience, I was fortunate enough to land an internship with a local financial company in my area of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to kind of learn the ins and outs of marketing. So not only being kind of the worker doing those design elements, but also understanding and doing the strategy and the content, what have you, targeting your audience and understanding how your piece influences behavior. So it was a really cool fit. From there, I spent about 3.5 years at the bank, moved over to an industrial manufacturer, which I grew into a manager position, a leadership role, which was so fun. We had a very nimble team of 2, and I was running that, which is an experience of its own. I think the 3 years that I was a manager there was the most, experience, the most I learned in my entire career, which was awesome because you kind of had a hands-on and a little bit of everything. And now I've been a growth marketing manager for Rent Dynamics for about 8 months now, which is a really, really cool story. So in the midst of my tenure at the industrial manufacturer, really saw a heavy focus being placed on social media and kind of personal branding. Twitter, I just saw so much potential in Twitter. This is probably 2016, 2017 timeframe. I still see the influence, but just in our given state, LinkedIn is kind of the most like high performing channel I've seen. So I was really building kind of a network. We called it #marketing Twitter, and you just connected with marketing professionals across the whole country. So I didn't build a super large following because, as you and I had spoke, that wasn't really my goal. I didn't quite yet want to be viewed as an industry thought leader yet. I just kind of wanted to provide help where I could and also ask for help where I could. So I built a very comfortable network of individuals that I knew if I reached out, they would reply back. So it's not the biggest number. What's really cool, and this, I feel like I'm already starting to talk a lot, but this is answering that last one, which I'm sure most people are excited to know how I got a job off social media. It was a retweet from Christina Garnett, who is the senior marketing manager of offline community and advocacy for HubSpot. She was one of my first connections and kind of leading the charge of that marketing Twitter. She retweeted who we all know, Mike Wilbur. This was January of 2020. Mike was looking to build marketing for an exciting software company that he had just joined called Rent Dynamics. So he was looking for a marketing director role. I had been pretty heavily in the job search at that point in time. So that sounded really cool. I read up on the company. I'm like, I believe in the mission. I believe in the style, their messaging. I just all believed in it. And I'm just like, I feel really good about this. So I reached out to him. Him and I had a few messages back and forth. Unfortunately, that role, unfortunately, went to another colleague in the industry because they were building a marketing team from scratch. So they wanted somebody who had a track record of already doing that for the industry. But luck have it, roughly 6 months later, a growth marketing position opened up. And lo and behold, I'm in the industry, but it's so crazy to me. I still went through the interview process and all that, but to be connected with somebody that I work very closely with now from Twitter, I think is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it truly is. That shows the power of social networks and how I personally landed my current job and my previous job from LinkedIn without looking, without applying. Actually, I was approached by individuals, not even hiring managers, that work for those particular companies, and they got me in touch with hiring managers, which I interviewed with, and eventually got the opportunities. So it's pretty amazing. I think that people shouldn't take this for granted. It's where people live more and more nowadays. Social media, like, this is real life, and outside in the backyard and visiting and doing things, it comes in secondary for a lot of people. And not just that, but I think in the business, in a business space, especially our industry, right, in particular, a lot of stuff happens on social media. Happens like it comes to life. Yeah. It comes to life in the social media space. Do you disagree? What's your take on this?
No, I honestly definitely agree with that. I think it's becoming more and more. Like, I thought it was kind of moving to that direction pretty heavily 3 or 4 years ago, but now it's only increasing even more. And I had a talk with Jessica Carter at Nurture Boss, and she had mentioned, because I just get on myself because my wife's in the 3rd trimester for our 2nd kid, so I'm kind of in like a no-fly time frame right now. But part of me had that FOMO that I wasn't going to trade shows and exhibitions. So I'm like, I'm not building the connections like I need to be. I'm not, like that standard, like you said, like in your backyard, like you're not face to face with this person. And my world was shifted when Jessica mentioned that you can do that, if not more, based on the technology that we have today, using social media, building those relationships. You don't, face to face is so nice, but it's being done every day via, look what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like, you're basically, I'm inviting you in my living room, and then we're inviting everybody else that wants to join. As soon as this is burned, is on YouTube, and people could just watch. Like, literally, as soon as we're done with the recording, I'm gonna burn this, turn into a YouTube video, and within a matter of minutes, it'll be available for the entire world to see our conversation. How cool is that?
That is so cool. Like, I wonder what our ancestors would think with like this technology. I know, just mind-blowing.
It truly is. And honestly, all you really need for technology like is this. We could actually record this on a phone. It happens that I do it on my laptop, but we could do it on your phone, on our phones too. And like, literally record, save the video, put it on YouTube, and it's live. It's more technology in a phone nowadays than Ronald Reagan had to lead the entire world back in the 1980s. I mean, how amazing is that? It really is, like, in a phone, like in this little thing. Like, this is where our life, this is where we live nowadays.
Yeah, think of the process, like, just even, what do you want to say, 10, 15 years ago to Google something, where it's just second nature now. These new generations, like, it's scary in its sense, but you almost don't need to have that knowledge. You just need to know what to search on Google, because you have that encyclopedia in your pocket.
It's absolutely right. And I'm glad you're bringing this up. Maintenance, I'm seeing this trend in maintenance a lot, apartment maintenance. You see, there's all sorts of training that is available, online training, hands-on training, in-person training. But then I'm seeing this trend more and more on Facebook groups, they're maintenance related, where guys are saying, they're stating, look, I just check it on YouTube. Like, if I don't know about it, there's boards where people exchange ideas and support groups. But then a lot of them are saying, look, like, I just found this on YouTube. All I did, I just went and typed in the search words, and this is what came up. Like, use this. Literally, for someone that doesn't think, their first instinct is not, okay, before I even go to a board or like try to stress myself out trying to find a solution, figure it out, like, let me just do a search on YouTube and see what's coming up. It's pretty amazing, and it's really taking over.
Yeah, you think of these like mechanical engineers or even like these maintenance technicians need to have that knowledge. You need to know to operate on, your central air system. You need to know each like refrigerator model, just stuff like that, that like growing up, I never understood how somebody could be so versatile across hundreds, millions, different brands, different operating platforms, different circuitry. Like, you're right. Like, you could be the master at every community that you serve just by searching that brand name. It's doing this. What do I got? Oh, here's somebody in a minute fixing that problem. Done. Wipe your hands.
I think we're living the most exciting times in the history of humanity, of the world, and we're just at the beginning of this tech era. I think what we're seeing right now, that's like unbelievable, going like 20 or 30 years back to see how the technology evolved. We're just still like baby steps. We're in baby stages. Things that we're about to see within the next 10, 15, 50 years will be like literally mind-blowing, will be to where we'll be taken over by machines. Technology will be implanted in our brains, and it's going to be a combination between humans, a hybrid humans.
Yeah.
I truly believe. I think the technology is out there, is not in a stages where it's readily available, but people have been working. I've seen articles, science articles and things of that nature, that they're actually trying to build, chips to help enhance life of humans. So.
Wow. Yeah, I hadn't caught anything of that. I can't imagine somebody like Meta, like Facebook going to Meta. I could see them heavily kind of moving towards that direction, just with how very, using that term very loosely, how well they understood the people, like their customer base, how well they got, like it's viewed badly, it's kind of unethical, but like how well they got that algorithm. I forget what documentary was that talked about social media, and like as a marketer, I'm sitting there wondering what's wrong with that? What's wrong with understanding what people want, feeding them the content that they want to see? But you're kind of crossing that invasion of privacy that I don't want you knowing more about me than I know about myself.
I actually am of the opinion that we have crossed this line a long time ago. We have traded personal privacy for convenience, and it's not something that we will cross back ever. It's a line that we crossed, is behind us, and we made those decisions whether we want to admit or not. If we were not to be completely honest and not hypocritical about this, we gave up this privacy for convenience a long time ago. So it shouldn't come to a surprise to us what's happening. I just still think that there's fascinating things. If you do not want to be part of this world with technology, with lack of privacy, you could pull yourself out of it. Like there are options. I think just crying that there's no privacy is really not solving the problem. Like if you prefer to get your privacy back, you could do it at any given time. Delete all of your accounts. Don't have credit cards. It's just going to be difficult to function. It's going to be a challenge, but there are ways still. I don't think that just saying that there's a lack of privacy will really change, will revert the process that's being going on. I just don't see it happening.
Well, that gives me you just kind of sparked an idea. If only there was somebody, maybe it exists, but like a one switch that just takes you off. I feel like there's like settings in every social platform. Maybe that's the guidelines. Maybe that's what there has to be, but it would be awesome if there was a universal switch for someone who just wanted, like, don't sell my information, don't give my phone number out, like just flick that switch, you're off. So maybe that's something as we get into these more complex systems and stuff, that maybe someone invents that or creates that.
It's very interesting. In reality, I'm not a tech person, but I'm thinking that your digital activity is leaving traces. So if you were to choose to flip that switch, the switch existed, and you flip the switch, that's not gonna go back and affect your previous activity. That's gonna be somewhere. It left traces on the internet. So there's plenty of you out there, like enough of you out there, that basically predicts and shows who you really are, what your preferences are up to this point in your life. So it's gonna be hard, but it's a very interesting thought, though. It's a very interesting. If companies will actually do that and say, maybe there's a cell their sales pitch. A new platform says, hey, we're really not, here to sell you information. But the reality is that the platforms, that's all they do, because they don't have a subscription fee. So they're actually living off harvesting information from us, from individuals, and selling it to people that have something to sell to us. Yeah. That's all it is. Like, there is no product that's being sold. We are the product. We are the product. So let's just face the reality. I think that's the reality. Like, we are the product. Everything we do, our behavior is being recorded, is being packaged and sold. And I don't personally see that as a bad thing. I'm very well aware of what I'm doing, how I'm exposing all the things about my personal life, about my professional life, who I am online. I can't have that expectation of privacy, because I just gave it up.
Yeah, I like that. I like that perspective.
We just have to be honest with ourselves. You can't have it both ways. Scream for privacy, and at the same time, you're out there all the time, like willingly giving information about yourself.
Right. You're holding your smartphone, and like you said, you're complaining about the privacy laws, but I just shared a picture and I put my location on Facebook, but dang, Google owns all my data. It's like you just gave it to them. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Timothy, I'd like to ask you about your position at Ray Dynamics and what Red Dynamics does. I'm not extremely familiar with your company. I know your company is a SaaS, like software as a service company, right?
Yes.
And I know that you're very involved with the multifamily industry. So would you like to tell us a little bit about what your company does? I know that you are focusing on improving the leasing experience, right? Yes. And how do your products improve the leasing experience, and how do you make the life easier for the final user, for the user that uses your software right there out in the field?
Yeah, so we're kind of, we were calling it like the SaaS, as you said, software as a service, but we're almost viewing that as almost being too narrow-minded. What we really think is that we have an opportunity to kind of just enhance the leasing experience. That's what we keep saying, that we're enhancing the leasing experience for everybody involved. What's really cool by doing that, we have two are pretty relative, but we have 3 product lines currently that pretty much service 3 plus separate, needs within the industry. The company was founded on a third-party contact center, the need for kind of lifting the burden off leasing agents and site teams from taking phone calls. And we all get them. We all get those calls that come in right away. You take them and you feel like you didn't get anywhere. Like, it was a cold call. Like, oh man, that was a waste of my 5 minutes. It was somebody just things that you don't report on at the end of the day. So it's really cool to be based around the need for that kind of like filter, if you will, to have that call center that just takes the calls, depending on how our clients use it, takes that calls and like really filters it down to, this one's going to turn into a tour, this one's going to turn into a lease. Like, focus your efforts on these quality phone calls and let us kind of be the gatekeeper of like, this person just wanted to sell you insurance, or this person, moved out 2 months ago, and just I don't know, that one was probably important. But from that, it's a really cool story. We offer an intuitive CRM software. So it's the CRM, that the site teams are using to manage those leads. So not only are we going to qualify the leads for you, you're also going to get like the reporting in your CRM so that you can plan for like strategic follow-ups. Like, hey, how did you like the tour? Are you interested? All the strategies that go behind that. The CRM is like, just, I don't know. It's top notch. I'm very confident it's the best in the industry. I know everybody claims that, but I really feel it, even down to our design structure. We understand that the site teams don't have a degree in like IT or technology. Maybe they're working towards it, but like, we can't expect our users to use a complex, weighed down, busy, user experience for the CRM. So we've really taken that into our UI design and made it simplified for the leasing teams So I've been going around saying we almost want the leasing teams to spend as little time as possible in our CRM. That's kind of the goal and the viewpoint I see for my company. I know that's probably like backwards thinking because you want, oh, more time in the program, but the more time you're focused figuring out a software, the less time you're focused going the extra mile on a tour and making sure that tour turns to a lease. And, we feel really strongly about just adapting the user experience for the CRM. And on a complete 360, that third vertical is what we call Rent Plus, which with the big push for ESG and social initiatives, Rent Plus at its core is a rental reporting service, but we're also taking the model of that service. So now, Rent Plus is primarily targeted to the resident. So I think we helped, the leasing teams and kind of that lead retrieval side of it. Rent Plus is going to be good for the residents, which helps retention. The rental reporting serves as like a positive message and way to ensure your residents pay their rent every month. But we're also taking the model of Rent Plus, which is financial inclusion for everybody, and introducing things like TAP, which is a home buying program, our credit and debit cards that'll be out later this year. Just kind of taking that same model that you don't need any kind of pre-qualified, like no minimum requirements is what I'm saying, but building out this whole financial suite that we can serve the residents. So I know that was long-winded, but marrying the three things to kind of put like an ecosystem together. So we bring them in and then we hold them to want to stay, keep them enticed to stay within your community.
The first part of your description led me to think that your company is we could call it the Leasing Distillery.
I like that.
You're distillating all the phone calls. Some of them are leads, some of them aren't. You sorted them out, and then the final product, the spirit, is there's actually a number of them, right?
Yeah.
You have your tequila here, you have your bourbon right here, you have your beer right here, and everybody, all of those customers, in leasing and marketing, they pick whatever they like. So instead for them sorting out going to the store, they just wait at the distillery, and then they're just looking at the product that's coming distillated down to exactly what they need.
Love that analogy. I'm thinking of a campaign here. Maybe you and I got to collaborate on a campaign to get the word out on that, but I love that analogy.
I would love that. It saves you. Just think about it. If you use the analogy, right? Going a step further, you don't go to the beverage store, like it comes to your house. You don't go to, you don't go shopping, like it's in front of your computer, like at your fingertips, right? And we do all of that for you.
Yep.
So I like it. I think it's a great business model. Seems like it's very successful. I spoke with other individuals that sell the same type of services. They seem to be in high demand and very efficient. Management companies are embracing this technology. Timothy, I wanted to ask you next, tell me a little bit about your role at Rent Dynamics. Like, what do you do? What's your role within an organization?
Yeah, so this was a really cool, I love getting this question because if you would have asked me like a month into this position, I wouldn't have had a solid answer. Growth marketing is kind of coming out within the last 2-3 years. It's also known as like demand gen marketing. So my goal, and I think what attracted Rent Dynamics to myself off of like Twitter, was my ability to just naturally sell. I don't want to say sell, but like I'll use an example. I'm a big music fan. So if I like an album, I'm going out into the public and I'm telling like my mom, my dad, my wife, my grandparents, like, check this album out. This is like the greatest song I've ever heard. Like, you're so pumped about it. You're just telling everybody, and just your enthusiasm then drives down to I'm hoping people listen to the song that I share with them. But so how does that work in a multifamily marketing industry? Well, use the tools that we have. So it's that personality, that mindset, using a lot of like outbound efforts. So like email, social media, just having fun with that, and taking, I don't know, taking the sell out of like sales kind of thing, like finding things that are fun. And I know that's not, it's very vague, but really my duties have drilled down to email and social media. So using kind of the first 2 months, and that's where I said that, I wouldn't have been able to give a good answer. I came in the first month, my job was to learn what channels are our high growth channels. And within month 2 and 3, we learned that was email and social media. So then that's where the heavy focus came in. So you're talking about like our event cadences, just touching up with folks that are attending a conference, all the social media activity, the content that goes out there versus, light product pushes, but more so industry specific. Like we were at NAA or we, new hire announcements, some of those better engaging posts for us. And then just understanding why something does well for us, like marketing efforts do well for us, and just proving growth in everything that I do.
It's very interesting that you're saying that, because I have seen, or as an end user, as a customer or potential customer, I've seen sales pitches, and then companies would come to try, sell services to us. But then other than customer testimonials, when I've asked about KPIs, could you show me how your product has improved the life of a customer, of a client over a period of time, at least like a 6 month, I'm yet still waiting to see that type of those type of numbers, reports, because a lot of them might be great products, and I think they all serve a purpose. They're all great. It's not about being great or not. It's just what's gonna be the right product for me.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
what your company does, they're probably another 5 or 10. They're doing the same thing. They're chasing the same customer. They're selling. They're building the same type of software to cater to the same type of audience. So then for me as a customer, like how am I gonna choose, beyond the sales pitch? I think a very powerful tool will be KPIs to actually show some hard numbers that are backing up your story, your great story, and the testimonials.
That's exactly. And I love that you said that. I've always been under the mindset that we can't decide for the people that we're marketing to, but we can equip them with everything that they need to make that decision. We will never decide for them. So that was a hard lesson for me to come across, that like every email I send, there isn't a hard ask. There isn't something that's like, you have to do this for me to consider this successful, because that's not the way the industry is working. That's not how outbound is going to continue working.
Timothy, you've been in the industry for only 8 months. That's a very short period of time. So if I may say, you're still an outsider, right? You're still finding your ways in. Tell me a little bit about what perspective you're bringing to the industry. Like what new things or ideas you're bringing in that they didn't exist, like they weren't mainstream when you came in, when you joined the industry 8 months ago.
Yeah, so I really, I think I have that benefit while I'm not, like seasoned yet in the industry. I really pride myself in kind of having an outside look. Like some of the things that I suggest, kind of, you look at me like I have 3 heads, but it's because it's so new to the industry that it's almost like hitting you. It's like, we ought to try that. And I really, I adapt to mainly, I wouldn't even say like new technologies, but like marketing technologies. Like I'm very attracted to tools that are going to help me do what I'm doing better. So just keeping abreast of that stuff and how that incorporates with, I don't know, and it doesn't even have to be within the multifamily industry. Like if I have a friend that's in the pharmaceutical industry and he's using marketing like in this, let's bring that into here. How does that affect here? And is that something that leasing teams and site teams could use that we could maybe integrate into our CRM? Like just kind of keeping that. I don't think I fall victim to it's how it's always been done, that mentality. So I do think I'm fresh with those kind of perspectives.
I think the key is to stay fresh that way and to stay odd, if you wish. And
Yeah.
here's why I'm saying I actually had a conversation right here on the show. It was actually the last episode. And my guest on the episode, Patrick, said, no industry is going to be disrupted from inside, because people that are insiders will always play safe. They're gonna go the safe route. So, hey, we're gonna succeed. This has been tried before. We're just gonna follow the same path, because you know, we get the expected results. So, in order for the industry to suffer destruction in any part of the industry, it's gonna have to be someone from outside. Someone comes with a fresh look. I'm rooting for you, and
Awesome.
I'm hoping that you're bringing that piece that will actually take things to the next level. Unfortunately, our industry has not been known as being the very embracing to the newer technology, to the newest thing. So we as an industry kind of playing catch up with the other industries, with the world in general. So I'm very excited when I see someone like you coming from outside, bringing new perspective, because it makes me more hopeful that things will move faster by getting new blood in and new ideas in to the marketplace, and then challenging the status quo of the existing.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I think my experience, that mainly the manufacturing industry that I came from, I spent the bulk of my career, almost 6 years, marketing for a manufacturer. And I think, the big lesson that I took out of there is it's not so much about the latest, greatest features. When you have an audience, let's cater to what they're looking for. And maybe it's that mentality that could be the value that I do bring to the industry, where it's cool, fine and dandy that you're using AI for, intelligent sentiments and all this stuff, but somebody who, I'm not dissing anybody, but someone who's not even familiar with computers, if that's like your target audience, that's not the feature they want to hear about. So I think it's that mind shift, how you had said, like, not embracing it, but how do we morph our marketing message to appeal to what they would embrace? How is that AI going to help me log off at 5 o'clock every night? How's that AI going to send a message that I keep forgetting to, and I'm losing tour opportunities because I'm just not in front of these individuals enough? It's using that, not just saying, hey, we have AI that's going to transcribe text for you.
I think the real winners are going to be in your part of the world. The real winners are going to be the winners that actually will build a product that's actually being found as very useful by the end user, not by anyone in corporate that maybe never uses that software, or they're part of the sales pitch and they just think it's a cool idea, or they might I guess reap the benefits of that particular piece of software twice a year. Someone that does this is right there in the trenches, day in and day out. If they're going to love your product, you will be successful, because I understand that the buy-in it's happening right there, in ivory tower. But at the end of the day, if you get a buy-in and the final user is really not buying into your product, you might make sales for a while, but then your customer, your client, it's not going to see this as a successful business decision, because they're not going to get the expected results because of the lack of that buy-in. So I strongly believe that a product, or a number of products that are tailored towards the final user, even testing with the final user, giving your product and ask them to play with it, and ask them to tell you what they like, what they don't like. Don't guess. I'm super big on asking the question. I used to be in my head and think that I knew it all, and then gosh, how wrong I was, extremely wrong. I still am wrong, but I'm less nowadays. Why? Because I ask the questions, and you know what? People are willing to answer. I do polls on LinkedIn all the time, probably 5 to 10 polls every month with questions that I need answers for, or that I think that I might know the answers for, hot topics, and people are voting right there. And that really tells me what the majority of people believes. Some might say, well, this is not a scientific poll. Okay, my response is very simple to that. No, but let's say that 180 people responded to the poll, okay? That beats the heck out of just one person, which is me.
Yeah. And I think that goes to that conversation you and I had a little bit prior to the episode that said, and I completely lost that train of thought. It's going to come back. I was so excited to share that, but that happens a lot.
It's all good. We'll get back to it.
Okay.
Let's get back a little bit to rent dynamics. Let's go back a little bit to what you do, and I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the leasing and enablement guide.
Yeah, we're really excited. We've kind of pushed the launch of the leasing enablement guide a couple months just because this project took on legs of its own, and we got more partner interactions in it, and it's just kind of pushing the launch date. But we are very confident that this guide is going to come to life for version 1 next week. But I would love to find that. The leasing enablement guide. So we took a hard look. We see all these like industry experts. We have a few in mind that you can think of that like kind of really paint the picture of multifamily, sell it as an ecosystem and a career opportunity that people want to work in. But it's almost, we haven't seen the best ways of like ensuring that every new hire or every person in the leasing industry is trained up to that degree. And so we worked with several partners and numerous property professionals that we truly believed were doing it that way, that made it fun, that way that made it that you understood what they were doing. You knew if somebody went to their property or started in their leasing office, that they would have the best kind of training. And next thing you know, now you have 2 of these individuals, somebody posting really great content on LinkedIn, somebody being active, posting pictures. You see them at the conferences. You have that one person, but how do we harness the energy of that one person and train the new person that just came in? So this leasing guide, it's currently 31 pages, and it's different sections that we, collectively through the industry partners and professionals that we worked with, just topics and tips from those that are actually doing it, what you can do reading cover to cover of this guide and feeling that much more empowered to go and start leasing.
This is such a simple, but it's also very impactful, very amazing process. Another guest that I had on my show, Jack Daly, who is really big. He's a sales coach, and he's really big on teaching, training companies to build a playbook with their systems and processes, taking their their top 5, 10, 15 most bigger producers, find out what they're doing well, distill again. It goes through distillation process, compile a book with it, and that's gonna be your sales playbook for the company. You can't expect, because leasing is sales. You can't expect your if you're a fairly decent sized management company, you have 200 leasing professionals, you can't really expect them and to go out there and sell 200 different ways. And
Right.
What's the best way to teach them, sell them, to just get the best minds in the industry or in your company, just like you said, like you did, and put together a guide, a playbook, and have the playbook ready for everybody. You don't have to rediscover the wheel or the hot water. It's right there. It's in the book. All you have to do is to read and to follow. It's model the masters, right?
Yeah, and I love this. This guide wrote itself. It's not one. What do you want to say? Like one track minded. Like it's not. It's written by so many different voices and stuff. But there's obviously the copywriting and a cohesive message. But like it wrote itself. There are so many people in the industry willing to help. and say, what do you have to say about this topic? Or what would you give advice to somebody who's like coming in? Like, it's amazing. Like, I look at a piece and I know I was heavily involved in the creation of it, but they're not my words, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. But also makes you very proud that, you're part of something that's, way bigger than just what you're producing on a daily basis, what you're building, than yourself, if I may. Because that's gonna end up in hands of thousands, or maybe tens of thousands of professionals, and you will make them better. It's an amazing it's an amazing thing to just think about that way, how many lives you are influencing by being part of this project.
Well, I had, and proofing it and reading it cover to cover, I've read it half a dozen times now. And what really made me feel like we were onto something, I can't think of the situation, but I was talking to a colleague of mine and they had a question about the industry. And I sounded so knowledgeable because I rattled off. It's like, where did I read that? Where did I read that piece? I'm like, that's the leasing guide that I've been working on. I just proofed it. And now it's knowledge in my head that every time I read this guide, I'm in an apartment community right now. I want to go down to the leasing office and help them out almost. I don't know, that might not be a bad use of my time, but I'd love to. And that's kind of the plan, to put this guide to actual, okay, this is what we wrote. Let's put it to actual use now. Cause I am so confident you'll win every time.
You mentioned writing and you writing, right?
Yeah.
So one of the first way I got to know you on LinkedIn was when you started your top 5 shares of the week, your newsletter on LinkedIn. I read a few of your newsletters.
Awesome.
And you're one of the best writers that I ever read when it comes to content, to this type of content. I'm just amazed at how well you could write. So I would like to ask you, Timothy, where do you see how do you see your newsletter evolving, and where do you see it heading towards?
I really appreciate you saying that. That actually means a great deal to me. Right now I'm kind of on, I don't want to say a hiatus. It's just, I'm going to call it season 1 through 2. So we have 24 volumes published to date. I'm kind of taking a step to look at what worked, what people were interested in. Was there certain people that I featured that ranked better, or like, was the conversation more, and just kind of looking to evolve. And, without giving too much for the surprise and stuff, but talking to a colleague and a few of the readers of it, I think there's a way that we could get really creative mixing video content with the newsletter. Because I do, in today's day and age, I mean, it would be awesome if somebody had 7 minutes to sit down and read a newsletter. And I understand that, I don't know if the newsletter is being used by reading every line of text that I write. That's not what I'm seeing. I think people are using it to kind of see the snapshot and then maybe get like the gist of what I'm saying. So why can't we share the post and then have like a commentary where I put a 1-minute video underneath each one? You just watch it while, you look at the post. So that's kind of where my head's at now. And I definitely also want to get more collaborative with the posters that I feature. Season one, I had the schedule down where I'd, obviously utilize social media through the week, find the 5 that really stood out to me and what I've been hearing in the industry and saying, hey, this really reflects that. And then writing a little blurb about it. Why not taking those posts, reaching out to the people that I'm sharing with and seeing if there's anything fun that we can do and collaborate on. So there's a lot of fun and exciting things. I unclear on when it's gonna start back up again, but I think it's gonna be pretty soon.
Definitely looking forward. I'll be on the lookout for the next for 2.0. 2.0 version, right?
Yeah.
Timothy, you're active on LinkedIn. You're using this platform as a tool for increasing building your brand, your personal brand, your company brand. Now, LinkedIn is the #1 social media platform when it comes to professionals worldwide. How can companies and individuals, brands, because we are brands too as individuals, so how can brands leverage the power of this platform, increase their sales and brand notoriety?
Yeah, that's I see that answer as a couple ways here. The first one being, I think you need to step out of the product in your business when you're taking to social media. So I can admit the first couple years I jumped on social, I thought every answer I had to somehow relate back to what I did for a company, because that's what the leadership team that I'd worked for in the past, that's what they were looking for. Like, Tim, how does talking about your dog connect with somebody that when they're, you weren't thinking when they're ready, you're thinking that, hey, I post one comment, guess what? We got a request for demo. Like, here we go. You got to step out of that. You got to just be a person. Use social media not so much as an outbound platform, but use it as an arm of your overall social nature. We're all social by nature. We're social beings. We need to always be talking to people. We need to always be communication. So like, use social as just another way of doing that, making friends, talking. It kind of leads to another point, just not always leading the charge with the conversation, but joining in what other people are saying. I think the hardest thing to take off is a brand new thought. But if you see someone out there on LinkedIn already talking about something that you feel strongly about, or even if you don't, start the conversation. Pick something a day that, hey, I don't know much about this, I'm going to comment and learn more, and get that conversation going. So it's a natural curiosity. It's not about your business, it's not about the product that you sell, but it's about who you are as a person and what you want to learn, what you're curious about, or sharing expertise that's like, oh, wow, you're asking a question about something I actually have experience with. I'm going to put my 2 cents in here and see if that just sparks a conversation.
I like this a lot. Genuine human interaction with no ulterior motive. It's the most powerful thing. I could speak from experience because I'm practicing myself. I'm not on a platform out there to sell anything. I'm just there to help people connect, to help people, period. Of course, to post my beliefs when it comes to topics that I'm passionate about, and to interact with people, to interact, to create this, network of professionals and like-minded individuals that bring value to others. I think the more value we bring without expecting anything in return, then actually the more ROI that generates. And it doesn't have to be, ROI doesn't have to be quantified in dollar signs.
Yes.
It really is the returns that you're getting are amazing. Like ever since I started doing this, the more I do, the better my life gets in general, in all the aspects. I don't know if I can't really explain it, because it's not the same thing. It's not a return. Again, I'm not selling, not even maybe ideas you should say, but not selling. I'm putting my ideas out there, but I'm not selling products. I'm not making a dime of what I do on the internet, but my life has become way better. The more time I spend, the more I'm able to, help out and give, the better my life gets.
I like that. It kind of goes to, I did trade shows very heavily in my last profession, my last job. And I can relate it to, we would design, we'd only ever pull out maybe 10 by 10 booth spaces at the last company. And we design the backdrop, maybe 8 foot tall, 10 foot wide. And the biggest lesson that took me for a loop in marketing, we're so proud of the brands we work for. We want that to be the first thing you see. And I can relate it to social media, because don't take the social that your brand is the first, or your company is the first thing that you want somebody to see. Put a headline, like you and I were talking earlier, a headline that actually draws somebody in, that knows they can read that line. It may not say your company name, it may not say your products, but it's giving them a specific message, and they're attracted to that message, saying, okay, that company can help me do that. But nobody's ever going to look by in 3 seconds and memorize your company name, but they're going to remember, hey, there was that booth at the corner that said that they could help me get XYZ. And that, to me, in my experience, has been what leads other individuals to want to work with you. And social is no different. So if you can start speaking a language or speaking words that people are looking for. Like, wow, yeah, I really wanted to up my marketing game. Or I really wanted to up my podcasting game. I'm going to check out Multifamily Chronicles and follow, Adrian on LinkedIn, because he seems to know a thing or two about podcasts. Not, hey, this is my company, this is what I sell, buy from me. It's creating that almost that common ground that we know who to go to for certain topics.
It creates the environment to have conversations. And I think as long as people are willing to have the conversations, not about selling or buying anything. No, not at all. Nope. Those people that are going to be in your cycle, they will be more prone to look into your product, and if it makes sense to to purchase. But a lot of times what happened to me, I got in touch with many individuals throughout my career, and a lot of them were sales, right? Were in sales. They were selling certain products, and I ended up recommending their products without even buying it one time.
Wow.
So how powerful is that? I'm not even a customer of yours, but then just because we have a relationship, if Johnny reaches out or types something, post on LinkedIn and says, hey, does anyone knows how can I get a electric charger for cars, for apartments, just whatever. And I just happen to know, like I have a relationship or report with a person that happens to sell that. I just tag them in the comments and say, hey, right here. And I actually help just by the virtue of knowing what that person did for a living. I put them in touch with potential customers, and some of them actually made some really good sales. So that
referral is huge too. Not even, thinking one-sided, building that relationship, but then also the power of your network and sharing, what you do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It's very true. Timothy, I want to ask you now about your experience right here at Rent Dynamics, and what does it feel like? What is it like building your team from scratch?
So we'll have to shout out Elisa Brown, which she has moved on from Rent Dynamics to now works for a WordPress VIP partner, and Bryson Jensen, who, gives some credit that these two individuals are who were the first marketing professionals to build the Rent Dynamics team. So where I felt, coming into marketing, the company had only had marketing for 5 or 6 months by the time I came in. So it still was very, very new, and it still is very, very new today. But the legwork that both individuals I mentioned had laid out is second to none. It's for starters, it's incredible that the company grew as much as it did in the first 9 years of its business without having a traditional marketing department. In a company, I'm such a firm believer that every position is marketing. So you got to treat your employees well, you got to treat your clients well. Like everybody kind of comes to support that entire marketing ecosystem. And we're, the team with Elisa starting, Bryson, then myself, and now we have Trevor Park and Sam B on our team as well. So it's crazy how it started as like a 1-person show, and now it's 4 people, and it's us bringing in the technologies and techniques that we've used elsewhere in our career and finding what really works well, but also keeping an open mind that what worked well at this job might not work well at this job. So it's a fun ride. It's in the 8 months I've been here, it's almost like night and day different company, just because how fast it's moving.
It's very exciting to be part of something that's moving, like you said, it's growing that fast and that big. So I'm super pumped for you. I'll keep an eye on the progress right there.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, make sure that you update us. Now, as we all know, all the great things in life, come to an end. So I love our conversation. I would love to keep it going for a lot longer. Just for audience reasons, we're gonna have to approach the end of this episode. But
Yeah.
what I do want to do, Timothy, before we close, I have a few questions about your personal life experience. So if I may just do a rapid fire of a few questions to
Yeah.
get your take on a few things. I'm very passionate about getting my guests to respond to those questions because I think previous behavior and previous life experience could be helpful for others that haven't been where you have been. So it's very important for me that you share this with the audience.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm going to ask you first, how did a failure or a apparent failure set you up for future success in your life?
So I'm thinking, the biggest one that came to mind for that was kind of an untouchable ego. Just lose the ego in business. It just having one just sets you up for what I believe failure. There's no concrete evidence that it did set me up for failure, but a lot of, in my career, a lot of things tend to go south when you get so far into your head and ego and that you're untouchable and you can't do anything wrong. Like, except that you're human.
I can relate to that experience. I was one of those myself too. Next question, Timothy, reads.
Yeah.
What do you like to read? Fiction, nonfiction? What are some great books that you would recommend?
So this is a cool one because all throughout my, elementary, middle school, high school, I wasn't a reader. We'd be assigned 70 pages a night or something like I wasn't close to that. It just did not interest me. It wasn't until, and this is nerding, but wasn't until about 4 years ago that I realized I'm just not I'm not a fiction person. I'm more into nonfiction. And even beyond that, I like business leadership and marketing books. That's what keeps my attention. So you're not going to see, I've owned every Harry Potter book, but I think I've made it 3/4 through one of them. Like that just did not grab me. Three, in that marketing and business realm, three that I cannot recommend enough. And I'm going to read it off here because I want to give credit to the wonderful authors of it. But I love the book Contagious, which is by Jonah Berger. It's all about viral marketing. And I highly recommend, even if you're not in marketing, I highly recommend giving that a shot because it tells some incredible success stories and gives you kind of a mindset of what about this company, what about this initiative, like really brought people in waves. Another one that I really like was, and I'm probably going to butcher last names, but Thomas Gerace and Robert McKee in their book Storynomics. It's talking about the 8 pillars of good storytelling, and structuring just marketing around that has been really fun. Just the 8 pillars, the feelings, the attachment. And what's crazy is that they say every movie follows that. So it's like you think of a movie, and I'll have to research the 8 again because it's been a while since I read that, but it's so true. Any movie you can think of has those 8 points in it, and that's what makes it a success. And last one, the former GE CEO, Jack Welch, wrote a book in 2004 called Winning. And that one kind of that's more business leadership because it's coming from a CEO, but man, that was a hard one to finish because I didn't want it to be over, just like this episode.
Thank you very much. Sounds like they're amazing books. I haven't read them yet, but they're gonna make top of my list for future reads for sure.
Awesome.
Next quick question, Timothy, is what advice would you give to a young person that's ready to enter, they're finishing school, they're ready to enter the workforce, the real life out there? What one piece of advice that you would have for them?
I say accept every opportunity for what it is. Accept it as, I started my career as an intern. I was so thankful for any project that somebody thought of that I would do okay with. So it's just having that mentality because you never know what a decision or project's going to take you. So just accept it with so much gratitude.
So in the past 3 years, what do you believe behavioral habit has most improved your life, Timothy?
I'm going to go with, this is a really good one. Or I hope, just being truthful, being very candid, being very just true, telling the truth. And this could be a story for another day, but in my high school life, I got myself in a lot of trouble just telling lies, telling fibs. They'd get so complex. They'd find you in bad situations. You'd have to remember all these stories. Like, you don't need that stress. And it may be off-putting to some people I talk to. I don't have boundaries. I don't have the normal, like, you don't talk about that with somebody. You know what I mean? I do and I don't. But it's because I tell the truth, because that's the story that I can keep straight. Everybody I talk to. So that has changed my life completely. Just always telling the truth.
When you feel stressed out, when you feel that you're losing your focus, you're overwhelmed, what do you use? What technique, what things do you use to get back on track?
This is really simple, and you're going to love this one. I turn my phone off. I don't know what hold the phone has when it's turned on, but as a habit, I don't have my phone on past 8 o'clock at night, because that gives me an hour, 2 hours to unwind and get ready for sleep. But it changes everything, even as far as like keeping your phone on until the battery dies. Like, I feel like I was in a trance and I'm like, hey, I'm back. It takes a couple minutes, but the fact that you don't have those notifications like coming at you so heavily, it really lets my mind kind of reset and then get a good night's sleep and then wake up and maybe not even turn on the phone like the first minute you wake up, keeping it off until you're at a time where you're like, okay, I'm sitting down, I got my coffee, I'm working, time to turn on the phone.
This is such a great conversation. Just like you said earlier, I don't want it to end. Unfortunately, we're about to. In closing, Timothy, I'd like to give you the opportunity to say something to the audience in closing, and to maybe answer a question that you wish I would have asked and I didn't, or anything that you would like to add in closing.
Yeah, I feel thankful for that, but something I just want to touch on, and I struggle with it, is kind of that work-life blend. As I'm bringing a second child into this world, it's being able to mesh. I really like the terminology. It used to be balance, but now it's blend, because one shouldn't triumph. When it's balance, it means you're taking a meeting request over, your son's baseball game, or like something's always winning. When it's a blend, it kind of moves away from your standard like working hours, where I'm going to step away at 6:30 to go have dinner. I'll log back in at 7:30, make sure everything's squared away, but just let step away, have that time with family, and then do what you got to do afterwards. But it's definitely something I'm passionate about, and I definitely talk a bigger game than I actually achieve. So that's a big goal of mine moving forward.
Congratulations to the event that's about to happen, to be a dad for the second time. It's an amazing thing.
Thank you.
It's one of the best things. This is our legacy. It's our legacy.
Yep.
We'll live through our children. So it's very exciting. Very exciting.
Leave the world better than they came into it is my motto.
Timothy, thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. Amazing conversation.
Thanks.
I hope that the audience will enjoy as much as I did, because I truly did. I could have gone on for another hour easily.
I appreciate it. Really, really honored to be on here.
Everybody, thank you very much for watching us. This was Multifamily Chronicles, episode number 26. I'm your host, Adrian Danila, and I hope to see you back here soon with more content. Have a good